Welcome to the Victory Multisport Podcast. This is Coach Sarge, and I'm with Coach Scott.
Hey there.
And Coach Kenny.
Morning, fellas.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Big pit win yesterday.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
made my weekend.
Football season's back. We've got the NFL and all the college teams are out there grinding on the gridiron this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding. So as we get started with this episode of the podcast, we've got a couple of things for our listeners today. We want to talk a little bit about a couple programs that we have inside Victory and some recent news that's been happening with us. We've got a lot of activity behind the scenes and on the team that we'll cover. We're also going to get a little bit deeper dive into Kenny's recap of his swim around Key West, and that's a long time coming. We did that back in June, but really wanted to fill in the gaps and let the listeners know how that went and how that was for you, Ken.
Oh yeah, it was a day.
It was an experience altogether. So we're going to cover that and a couple other pieces of news towards the end. So tune in, stay with us. We're here for a little bit over an hour, and we'll take you on a little bit of a wild ride, just cleaning up some things over the summer that's been going on. So fantastic. Before we get started on that, we really want to take some time to thank our sponsors this summer. We've had some fantastic collaboration and sponsorship from our local businesses here based in Pittsburgh, but some of them are nationwide. And the first is Mike and Tony's, and I know you know Justin, man, and the boys.
Mike and Tony's is the move, man. Like, when you look at Justin, we've used him now for 2 race camps.
Yep.
And we've told him, hey man, we'll pay whatever it is. And he just says, no, I'm not taking anything. I see the changes you're making in people's lives, and I just want to be a small part of that. And it's incredible because the athletes almost now are signing up for the race camp for
the food,
for his food. They're like, whatever that was on Sunday, have it again. So we had it on the Saturday night party at Sipple's. And I'm not sure who it was. It could have been Tanzer, but one of them took a tray of chicken fingers, and we need the pan back. But I mean, outside of that, it's the greatest. They have 6 locations, and it's awesome. He did the food at the end of the Rock, and he just wants to be a part of. Mike and Tony's has 6 locations, soon to be a breakfast location coming. And if you hear anything about what they do, it's family. Yeah. It's their family. Our employees are our family. And they didn't let anybody go in COVID. They made sacrifices so their employees had a place to go. It just shows you the type of people the Devlins are. And I roll with them, man.
We're glad to be part of their family in this way, and having them having us enjoy their product, and also having the environment of endurance sports and rucking, racing, triathlon, race camp be part of the Mike and Tony's experience as well, and having them bring it to everybody here and locally in Pittsburgh. So thanks a lot to the Devlins and Justin and the team at Mike and Tony's.
I felt like I did my 8th Ironman the other day when I had that Helen Mac burger, but I gave it hell, man.
You got geared up. You had to do your warm up beforehand. You do your dynamic stretch before you eat that thing. Right?
Oh yeah. And I had to do a dynamic stretch after to try to get things moving, man. That thing was wild.
Yeah. Outstanding. One of our other sponsors is Trek Pittsburgh. So the Trek bicycle stores all around Pittsburgh are part of the Victory family. Victory athletes enjoy discounts and special treatment from all the locations. Jen, the manager of the Cranberry store, is our main liaison, and she's the one that parlayed that through the entire Trek Pittsburgh organization for us. So we thank her for inviting us to her workshops, to having us around the shop, to doing bike packing, bike assembly, bike maintenance on many of our athletes. And then anybody that's looking for a new ride or an additional ride, if you're in the tri business and you want to get a road bike to have out for your casual rides or your hill climbs, look at the people at Trek and ask them for what can they do for you and what you're after, and they can help you out.
Sarge, they honestly should become your best friend. Realistically, I mean, when you train like we do, Top Gear used to be my best friend. I would go there like 3 times a week just to see what they had, to talk bike. And anytime I was racing, I would do the tune up beforehand. I would have them look at my wheels, because when we're out putting so much time and effort and energy into it, you want to make sure the wheels are good, the gears are good. Do I have everything I need to make this better? And Top Gear went out of business years and years back, so that my new best friend is Trek, and that's the Cranberry location. Bigfoot looks at my bike all the time.
That's right.
And it's just awesome.
And Coach Scott, you've used him before, right? Before
I did, yeah. I used him before Arizona last year, and it was great. And there were things on there that they really advised me to go after, and some stuff too. They were really fair and balanced about it.
That's right.
They would say, "Hey, look, this looks like it's in good shape. You can roll with this, but you got a couple things on here you got to address." So appreciated the honesty, and they kept things, just right on track for me.
100%. So we really appreciate the team at all the stores, and especially the group in Cranberry that we see the most. But we have athletes all over the city that use the Trek knowledge and know-how and ability to keep their bikes rolling. So thanks for that. And lastly is our friends at Project One Nutrition. They've come out to the last few races with us. They've supported us. They help support the athletes through their nutritional products and their presence and their energy as well. And the team over there, B-Dog, and the rest of the crew with Lumberjack and all the guys. We've known them for years. We've known some of the owners for decades, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So they've been fantastic for us. So.
Yeah, you just don't want to fight Lumberjack. So anything he tells me to do, I do. Is I don't want the kidney punch.
I think he said he was going to bruise your kidney.
Hey, he definitely
or your liver.
did.
Bruise his liver.
Yeah, I don't even want to hug him because he squeezes too hard. I mean, every once in a while, just to keep me honest, he'll send me a picture of him boxing somebody. Gets me back in line.
That's right. So they're fantastic. They have a squad program for anybody that's interested in doing an affiliate relationship with Project One Nutrition. You can sign up as one of their squad members, get your own discount code, and get into the product line that they have. It's fantastic stuff. It helps us out. Whether it's pre-workout, post-workout, intra-workout. There's a lot going on there. So check them out at Project One.
I'm ripping the pop rocket right now.
There you go.
Amino. Let me get a swig of it real quick. Here, listen. Oh, that's so good. So good.
Yeah. So again, thanks to our sponsors. These guys have helped us out for years, really, but came through big time this summer and into the fall, and are continuing to go on this journey with us as we continue down the road to victory. So thanks for that. The next thing is we've made a couple of announcements recently in the newsletter. If those of you are following the newsletter, if you're not on the newsletter, you can certainly go to victory-multisport.com, click the subscribe button, fill out the quick form, and you'll get the weekly athlete briefing newsletter, which has news, information, blog posts, tips and tricks on all things endurance, sports related, and our local events, or any event that is sponsored by 2 or 3 athletes, get-togethers, meetups, group runs, rides, and so forth. So in that newsletter recently, though, we've announced a second strategic partnership with Coach Ken P. from Pittsburgh Runner. So Coach Ken's got his own coaching business, and now he's in with Victory, working alongside us as a collab to have his athletes and the people that he works with on a daily, weekly basis become ambassadors and be part of the Victory family as well, and get that sense of community around him. So we congratulate Coach P on having that great group of guys. We saw several of them at Lake Placid. They raced. We've seen them at other events around the city, and done a couple bike fits and with some of them as well. So that's fantastic. And that's
he's awesome. I mean, Kenny, when we brought him into team camp, his running program that he pushes, he had a bunch of our athletes in there, and a few of them gave him feedback like, wow, that was unbelievable. A couple of my athletes were like, I got better that day just by hearing what he prescribed. And one thing about Ken is his energy is always top notch. Mm-hmm. It's been electric now that we gave him the flip rim hat.
I know, he's all over the place.
When Kenny P's in the flip rim, look out.
Where's Waldo? Where's Coach Ken P?
Oh yeah. Where's the hat?
That's right.
I love that thing.
Yeah, it's really good. And his run clinics,
swimming too,
and swim clinics that he puts on, it just really leverages helps us enhance the abilities of our coaching staff and what we can offer our athletes that come to Victory. And he's fully engaged now. His athletes are our athletes. Everybody's one big Victory family. So we're really proud of that, and glad to have Ken P on. And that's in addition to, last year we announced the similar arrangements, and actually the same arrangements with Coach Matty Moe and Trust the Plan. And Coach Matt has helped us, build out a couple of different aspects of our program. He has some killer athletes on his coaching roster. He's a head swim coach at Fox Chapel High School, and so he really helps us with even individual swim lessons and other things that some athletes are specifically asking for that we can deliver as part of our suite of services here at Victory Multisport. So, Coach Scott, you work with Coach Matt on one of our programs, our elite program. So,
yeah, I do, and super knowledgeable, easy to talk to, right? You mix that combination with a passion for the sport, and the results are always really good.
Oh yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. I mean, I recently saw an email. It's like, he's like, I would do this for free, right? And I said, yeah, I get that, but because he is so into it, he knows the players, he knows the people, he knows the pros, he knows. I think he's memorized every Kona finish and who won and what time they came in at. So he's uber into it. He's going to be in Kona with us this year, helping coach one of our elite athletes, Ryan Sipple, through his first Kona run. Ryan qualified at Lake Placid this year. And,
one hell of an effort.
And he's took his spot, and he's headed to Hawaii to compete in the World Championship. And he's, if you follow Ryan at all on Instagram or any of his socials, the kid is just a beast. Like
he looks unbelievable right now.
I know, he is so cut and trim and tight.
I would fight him now.
I would not.
I would fight him now. Maybe not in 3 weeks when he bulks up again or after Kona.
Because he's thinner.
Yeah. Right? He'd still whip my butt.
Oh, man.
Would go.
Yeah. You'd scramble with him. So, Coach, we appreciate you, Matt, and heading to Kona soon in October.
He finally surfaced again with the 49ers losing in the Super Bowl. He's now like chattering again because the season starts.
Okay, yeah. So he went dark for a while.
Love you, Matty.
He went dark for a bit. But so some really high-level strategic partnerships that we have with Victory and enhancing our ability to service our athletes and service all of our ambassadors and so forth with knowledge and experience, and that's what we're all about. So we appreciate them, and we really appreciate the work that Matt's doing on the elite program with you, Coach Scott. And if anybody listening is interested in the elite, you can go to the website, victory-multisport.com, find the elite program under the about, and check it out. Let us know you're interested. We'd be happy to have a call with you and just explore what that looks like and how that works for you. So
yeah, totally agree. And we had some great performances this past race season, right? So I think there 100%. Might be some of our athletes out there that definitely would thrive under that program, so that might not even realize it. So, I encourage everybody to go back, look at your past race season, and just take a look at results and, combine that with how you feel and where you think you're headed. And if you think there's a possibility there, definitely reach out. And that goes for other people too, listening, that are non-Victory athletes, right? Like, if you're just a strong race performer and you love the sport and you're curious, reach out to us.
Absolutely.
I can think of 2 females or 3 females, and I can think of 3 potential males, and they probably know who they are.
Yep.
Because
we're talking to you right now.
Yeah, so. We're talking to you. And but no, it's one of those places. I love the fact that there's a ladder that they can climb to if they want. That rung is there. Take the step, and we'll take the step with you.
That's right.
And it's been unbelievable. I mean, some of our females were killing it in the elite, and the males were killing it. I mean, last weekend, I think Ray won, Mighty Moraine, both of his age groups. I mean, I say win. He came in third, but he lost to a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, and Ray's 40. And I think it was funny that you said, which mortgage is that 16-year-old paying?
That's right.
And which is
they race better because they don't have the weight of the mortgage on their back if they're running in a race. So
Correct. But the elite is really taken off, and I think that opened our eyes watching who the elite was chasing was those 16, 19-year-olds.
That's right.
That are coming out of high school, heading into that next program of life.
Yeah. So to your point, Coach Scott and Coach Kenny, with the females that are out there, we have Mary Reed on that team. We have Tammy Powell, as well as some of our elite females. Tammy's racing here coming up in North Carolina. Mary is racing Maryland full to qualify for the third year in a row for a national championship. She qualified last year in Wisconsin but was not able to take her spot to Nice this year. She is really looking forward to qualifying in September, taking that spot to Kona in 2025. Because that's where she really wants to race again. She's raced there before. She's been there. She's danced on that stage, and she wants to go back and do it again for us. So congratulations to her ahead of time, but, go after it, Mary. Kill it. We know you got it in you. You've been hammering everything, just right on your training plan from what we hear from Coach Matt and what we see of you out on the practice areas that we see you in. So.
Yeah, and elite is not limited to tri. So we've had a lot of conversations about just other races in general, right? Like other disciplines. And as a result of that, we're actually putting together sort of a corral of athletes that are interested in qualifying for Boston.
100%. We just had a call. Mm-hmm. We just had an informational call. You can find that that details of that in the newsletter or on our website. It's recorded for those of you that might be interested, and it just talked through some of the mechanics and strategies of finding that right qualifying race, what kind of qualifying times you may need based on your age group. And then right now you're qualifying for, as of the 13th next week, you'll be qualifying for 2026.
Correct.
And what do you do for 18 months, right? And how do you get ready 18 months out for running in Boston? So there's just a great discussion, about an hour-long call that you can listen to. But we have coaches, Coach Scott included in that, who have done this before, have qualified himself, have run Boston and done very, very well. Coach Lauren as well on our staff that have done it. And a couple of athletes that we have in the stable that have been there and danced on that stage as well. So we're in for those type of performances, and we're here to help.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about elite. One other program before we end this commercial about victory, and that is our young guns. And if you saw the newsletter this week, we highlighted the 6 young guns that we have. And these are our college or just recently graduated college athletes that are just phenomenal, right? They were all college athletes of some sort: hockey, cross country, other disciplines, and have performed well in those spaces when they were in college or are currently in college finishing up. And now they're looking at, what do I do after that? How do I stay involved in sports? And triathlon is certainly something that they can gravitate towards. They've all reached out. We've set up this program specifically for them, and it's wildly successful at this point, and we are because their individual performances to date have already been impressive, and now we believe we can take them to another level, right, Coach?
Yeah, and even the community that they've built among themselves is pretty impressive. I know the guys with Nate and Trevin and Gussie; those guys trained together going into like Mighty Moraine Man and some of the Ironman stuff that Nate had going on, and it was cool just to see them work together, share knowledge, like on the ride, right? Like I tried to ride with them. But you
rode with them. The next day was a little bit rough.
I got to watch them from a distance, but they did great. And it was cool too, right? Because you could tell they were bonding immediately and really getting into it. And then, so, kind of following that, we've actually had some young women now leaning into that space as well, that are amazing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And are excited, and they have the pedigree from the collegiate athletics, Sarge, that you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very excited for that, that age group in particular, because again, they're young, they're athletic, they're energetic, and they want to learn about the sport. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to feed off of anything that our athletes in general share. And for what it's worth, the conversations that I've had with that group, they want that knowledge. So for the other victory athletes that are out there that have raced, that understand the dynamics of the training and the racing and all of it, right? Definitely share it. The young gun athletes are more than willing to listen, and they want to absorb all of that knowledge. So please share and keep that up.
Oh yeah, and it was great because, I coach Gus directly, and I was talking to him, and he's like, "Oh man, riding with Hiltz, oh, he took me through it." But then Trev was like, "Wow, swimming with Gus, I got better, and running with Trev, Gus got better." Mm-hmm. So they're bonding, but they're also pushing each other to get better, and they're helping each other. And it's funny because, talking to them, they just want to go out and compete. Talking to the girls, they want to kill. I mean, Shack Attack was like, "Oh no,
they're assassins.
Oh, I'm coming. I want to win Penn State, my age group. I know who's racing. I want to win." And she says it in the most humblest way. And, God's in her corner. And we know that about Shaq, but it's insane to hear how young they are, but yet how much they want to suck in all the knowledge and perform. It's really cool.
Yeah. And, quite honestly, I think part of the excitement is they don't understand how great they can be.
Correct.
So I had a very nice and fairly lengthy conversation with Caroline yesterday, and she sent me a ton of great info. And there was a moment where, and she mentioned it pretty casually about her performances, and you look through it. And just to read through the email, I kind of chuckled because it was like, a mile time is like a 5:05.
Correct.
Right. And a 2 mile is like 11 flat and all this stuff. And, and she was just talking about it pretty casually.
Yeah.
And
I just went out and did a 5 mile.
Yeah.
No
it's
problem.
just, it's crazy.
I could probably go faster, Coach, if you wanted me to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Pretty cool.
Zone 2 effort there.
Yeah. Zone 2 effort.
Yeah.
Easy pace, medium pace.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's the kind of the cool thing, what I was teeing up with Ray, chasing a 16 and a 19, those ones there, some of them don't have the equipment. They don't have the community, but they know they should get a coach, but do they have the money for it? And those are the things with the Young Guns program. It's so cool is they have no clue where they're going to go and how quick they can get there if somebody leads them down the right path. And they have a community that they can train together. It's life altering.
Yeah.
Catching it as a 17, 18, 19-year-old person instead of a 31 or 32, where you had to drop people in your life and you had to they get a fresh start to create their community and do what they want and to be as good as they want.
I mean, their energy, their speed, and their passion for sports in general, and then wanting to feed off of the knowledge of people like us that are been around a little while and have done some things is fantastic. That's why we created the program at Victory. That's why we make it economical for them to be able to afford it. That's why we have them in the team and engaging with existing athletes so that they can learn from them as well, because everybody has something to give. All right. Everybody has some knowledge or piece of information that's going to be important to another athlete. So we want them engaged and we want them in a community. And even Caroline, told me, she's like, I had no idea I would be able to find a community of people that are around my same age doing the same thing. And like, well, we knew that it needed there was a need in the market. We created it, and now we're stacking it, and you guys are right in there. So
yeah. It was the comment that I was going to make, and this comes back to your comment right there, Kenny, as well. There's a combination of I think everybody looking from the outside in can see the athletic ability and just that skill set. But a lot of their comments are very similar to first timers because they are first timers, right? So they were searching for, well, how do I learn to get the right equipment? How do I learn to do transitions? How do I learn about nutrition, right? So they are sharing those same themes that first timers share.
That's right.
So, for others, even out there listening, don't be intimidated or, think that you can't lean into this sport, because regardless of the age or your athletic ability, you still just have to go through those mechanics and those learning experiences to nail it. But, from that Young Guns perspective, it does make me smile because I fully can appreciate they really have that higher level engine, right? They're ready to go. That's revving. but they just don't know how to like aim it in the right direction and how to get it, you know, sort of nailed down, but they want to do it and it'll happen. Right. So it's that combination of the first timer and the high performer. So it makes it fun.
Well, you just might have gave me Trevin's nickname. Revin Trevin.
Yep.
No, but see, I get to run with Gus occasionally, and I know like Candace likes when Gus is there because Gus will run with her. Dane likes when they're there because Dane will run with them, and we're all triathletes. Sometimes we all like to talk about things we've done, and sometimes when people just, if you listen, and the young ones will listen, they're picking up on things. And our athlete group, you know, from elite all the way to regular 1-to-1 down to the young guns, they're all the same. Like they all want to help each other and they all want to push. And so the young gun community, that 18 to 24 years, if you're looking for your next spot, look us up on Instagram, look us up on the internet, because we have the coaching staff and we have the athletes that want to implore you to do your best. Not one of our athletes doesn't cheer for every other athlete inside of Victory.
That's right.
And that's kind of the coolest thing. And going back for a second, you know, with the Ken P ad and with the Matty Mo ad, I mean, we added Coach Steve.
Sure did.
And he's electric. We added Coach Kate. She's electric. And then you go down the Coach Nelly and the Hayden and the Alice and the Lauren and the Sheps. Like, I mean, it is murderer's row of coaches that we've implored out there for the young gun, for the 1-to-1, for the elite. I mean, we're all doing this to make this sport better, to make these athletes better. And it's phenomenal to sit back and watch.
Yeah, I will say too. And I know, like, as coaches, we always express appreciation for our athletes. And I can't echo that enough. I mean, I really feel like, you know, the community that's been built over the past few years is really beginning to materialize. And the reason I say that is because I share this with Kenny and Sarge all the time. I frequently get approached, even just at the gym, you know, when I'm in street clothes walking in. Hey, I hear you're connected in the tri community. I hear you're with Victory. Can you share some knowledge? Can you tell me a little bit about it? You know, I was at the Pitt game, you know, 2 weeks ago in a Pitt shirt, nothing Victory on, and somebody stopped me just walking through the stadium and recognized it. So, you know, I really do appreciate just the chatter. I appreciate everybody out there, the enthusiasm. And if I don't say it enough, I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely. Agreed. And, you know,
every
single athlete, whether you're an ambassador, one-on-one athlete, elite, young gun, doesn't really matter the moniker that we have you under. You're part of the Victory family. We appreciate you. We thank you for, you know, trusting us to go on this journey with you and to, you know, really share in your success as you finish, you know, races and make accomplishments. And even if your goals change, if you switch from triathlon to running, if you switch from running back to triathlon, there's, you know, we're here for you and we're here to make it happen for you. So we're very proud of all of you. Excellent. So Kenny, June 21st of 2024, we're all in the crew, you, myself, Ben Hawley, Kate, Ronnie, and a couple other spectators with us, and so forth. We're all in Key West.
Yes, we were.
We were there for something special. And
the Jimmy Buffett concert.
Yeah, not really, right? So, but, you know, you could probably back us up about 6 or 8 months minimally, maybe even a little longer, when you first punched that ticket to sign up for that event, right? And we call it a race. I guess it is somewhat of a race, but it's one of those long endurance. And for the listeners out there, it's a 12.5 mile swim around Parrot Key, which is actually the island that Key West, the city of Key West, sits on. And it's a 12.5 mile ocean swim. And there's some excitement in that 12.5 miles that we'll describe here for you because we experienced it. And not to get too far ahead, but just to, you know, backdrop everything. So Ron Schmoll and myself, Coach Sarge, are, you know, well-known kayakers for these endurance events, right? We've kayaked for Kenny in the Three Rivers, 30K. Ron kayaked for you in Tampa Bay, I believe, with tugboat. Certainly Ron and I actually kayaked for Tugboat when he crossed Lake Erie, and we were all in Dover hoping that we would get a chance to pilot. We wouldn't kayak in Dover, but we would pilot Tugboat across on his channel crossing that, unfortunately, the weather was not cooperative. So you have this crew, and I think we were there with you with the training as well. So if you wanted to start off, Ken, because it was fantastic. I mean, it was ultimately, to tell the end of the story, a fantastic day.
Yeah. So I think the journey, honest to God, it started the day after Tampa.
Okay.
Getting out of the water and, knowing that I came up shy, and 20 miles in the ocean was a long day. And, I didn't realize what that next day would have meant to me. Hurt, as I kept going on, I just kept lingering. Could I have? What if I did? All this stuff. And, I kept burning, and I'm like, I just don't know. I had a failure. I got to go back to Ironman. And I did. I ran another 2 Ironman. Mm-hmm. And, I knew back then I had unfinished business. This thing was laying there.
If I may, Ken. So just so the listeners understand, so that was a 4-mile swim, but at mile 20, you had I believe a shoulder issue that
felt like my whole chest muscle was going to come off my right side.
Right. So you had some sort of a biomechanical issue going on that caused you to, have to be pulled out. Ultimately, many of the other racers that day got pulled because of a thunderstorm that hit later. So some people did not make it due to weather. So I know that didn't help.
No.
Even though we tried to tell you that you weren't going to make it anyhow because you were going to get pulled for weather, but you would have rather been pulled for weather than having the pec issue.
Correct.
Just to frame up what happened there. And that was 2018, I believe, right? So 2018.
Yeah.
Got it.
And the hard part there is in this world, that's the first time I ever didn't complete something. Like literally oh my God, I finish, what is going on? I finish. And so getting on the plane, everybody, you did great. Okay. Yep. That sounds good. But my heart hurt, and I was sad, and and at that point in time, it wasn't that I let down all of victory. I let down maybe 20 people that were around me. Okay. So, this thing, what happened was a couple Ironman. As I'm getting older, I really love swimming. I love it. And so, I think this passed after I helped Murph, and Alyssa get through her swim, pink sleeve. And, all of a sudden I'm like, I got to do it again. I got to do it again. And so I woke up one Saturday morning, and I was going to swim, and I see an email from Key West because I had looked at it before, and I immediately called you, Scott, and I'm like, what do you think? And you're like, yeah, you do that, do it. And then I called Ron and Sarge. I'm like, okay, this isn't going to happen unless you guys are there. And both could say. And then I get home, and I said to say, I'm like, all right, babe, here we go. She goes, what? I go, I have to do something. And she said, is it an Ironman? And I said, no. And I said, it's a long swim. And she goes, okay. But she knew how much I had to do for Tampa. Mm-hmm. So she goes, the kids are older. We have a lot going on. How are you going to make it work? And I said, I'll make it work, and I won't miss anything. I'll make it work. And it turned out that it was a perfect weekend for us. So we went ahead and got enrolled, and the enrollment on it was really, really weird, and that's the first time I'll talk about Anna. And Anna was the race director. She was the first person to ever swim around the island of Key West. And Anna's in her 70s, Sarge?
70s, yeah. I think she's 72, 73.
72 or 73 years old. Beautiful lady. Beautiful. And I call her, and I said, Anna, I want in. And she said, are you a swimmer? And I said, I am a swimmer. And she goes, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to mail me a check. Okay. Mail me a check to Anna. And I'm like, okay. And then she goes, once I get the check, I'll send you the registration form, and you fill it out via paper, and then you email it to Dawn, And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'm like,
cashing my check and running off with my registration.
But I go, Anna, am I in? And she goes, you're in.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I'm going to send you the check today. And then I want to know that I'm in next week because I've cleared this. Now the fire is raging. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now I'm like, all right, I've barely swam. So my swims started out and Scott, I did a lot of following your marathon training plan. So last time I had Darren Miller, who's extraordinary, and he was my coach, but Darren wasn't, at the time necessarily a swim coach. I would use Darren for a lot of different things, but at the time Tugboat and I were just like, hey, can you help us? You did channel. Hey, I would look to do this type of yardage.
Sure.
And he was fantastic, but I'm like, you know what? I am going to oversee my whole training. I'm going to do it. So I started with like a 2,000 yard swim, a 4,000 yard swim, 1,000, a 5,000, and I just kept staggering it. I was almost swimming every day. Long and short, I did my own training all up. So my Saturdays seemed to be the day that we're in that 10 to 15 to 18,000. Mm-hmm. And I just kept 18,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 16, 16 to 22, like in yards for the week. So I just kept climbing that ladder to get me to where I was going. And, so there was a lot happening just to get me ready, swimming with shirts on, swimming with form technique, swimming 2 or 3 times a day when I didn't really want to, trying to like mimic all of this. And I remember coming home one day, and it was probably maybe one of the more turning point moments of my week because I just had come off Mighty Moraine and I was so inspired. There's so many people doing their first time tries, killing it, PRs. And when you're around that victory energy, you got to go.
Absolutely.
Like this is, I have to. And I was like, man, I missed all my swims. So that Monday I came in and I'm like, all right, I'm going to swim 3 miles in the morning, swim a mile over lunch, 2,000 meters. And then I came back and I think I met you, Sarge, or Ron.
Right.
It might've been Ron, I think that night. And Ron took me for 3.5 miles at Moraine. And I thank Get Fit Family's Joella so much. She let me swim to the bridge when everybody else was in that triangle, as long as I had Sarge or Ron with me. And I remember coming home and Say had dinner already. And I just was like 1,000 yards swim. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm tired. And I gave it everything I had. And that day I did, I think 10 miles off all in of the 3 different swims. And like, I felt so good. And the thing that was building in these lead-in months was now the show was different. The game changed some. And the game wasn't just me saying, I'm going to go do Tampa. I was saying, I'm going to do a like-minded swim to everybody inside of Victory. Mm-hmm. So now there were people that were just coming around the swim. Everybody at the YMCA knew what I was doing. So they'd come and just see me at the lane, like, how far are you? How far are you going? Man, I'm praying for you. And it was so cool. Joe, every day would see me. Right. And I'd walk by the hot tub. He'd give me a little cheer. I'd see him a couple hours later. He was one of the first people to call me after the swim in Key West. Buzz, another YMCA guy, would come over and pray with me and talk to me. And it was wild. I'm like, holy smokes, like this thing's getting legs and getting legs fast. Like, and I know I cause a lot of that wave because I'm always talking about it. I'm sharing what's happening. I'm inviting people into it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, damn it. Now I'm starting to get a little spooked. Like, what if it happens again?
Well, I think that's part of your science here and part of your psychological training. You forced it to be public. You forced it to have everybody involved, not only to get the energy and the support from everybody, other coaches, other athletes, friends, family, people at your church. I mean, everybody knew you were doing this. And I think that was a way of holding yourself accountable to the training. You weren't going to let any of those people down, right? No matter what.
Couldn't.
You were going to make sure that it happened. So that's an important point that athletes can learn from. You use this multiple times because that's your nature. Your nature is to publicize, hey, I'm doing this. That's how we did this whole thing back in 2011, 2012. Oh, somebody said I should do a half Ironman. I'm like, who the hell is somebody? Right?
Somebody.
Somebody at the running store. I was buying shoes and they said, oh, you shouldn't be doing a half marathon. You should be doing a half Ironman. He's like, okay, how do I sign up? They're like, oh, just go online. But that's how you are. And I think it's a good quality. Obviously, it's a fantastic quality.
Say says not so much when I said about the colonoscopy, but everyone knew about that too.
I know.
Like, hey, I'm in for it all.
For you on that one.
Hey,
right?
keep going, Kenny. Push hard.
It sounds like you learned a lot from the Tampa experience.
I definitely did.
It sounds like you approached this next one just structurally differently, mentally different. Like,
yeah, and I think a lot of the Tampa, I didn't know what I didn't know. I'm brave enough to get in there and give it a go, but I was young. I don't think I even did more than a 10K swim. Training wise, that was my first ocean swim. In honest God, it probably shouldn't have happened. It was so rough, but like I knew going out there, this has to be different. So whatever it was then has to be different. Mentally, I was not there. I mean, there were times when I called Darren to say, I can't swim today. Like I just can't. And it wasn't, he's like, you need to change a pole then. Like, cause I'm seeing the same Oxford line. Like you need to change a pole. You need to do something else. Get out of there. And that was so key to go to Bermuda. Because I mean, my voice is probably forever wrecked from breathing in the chlorine chemicals. It's never come back because of being trapped inside that building for 4 hours, 5 hours. And, I mean, that race cost a lot and I was willing to pay. And, and some of the things like the lead up of it, which was so cool is as I remember doing a speed swim with Jan and Jamie, and they're not for the faint of heart when you get in the lane with them. Like you're ready to go. Like it's a washing machine in there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm the worst swimmer of the bunch, like they're all in the 110s and I'm maybe pushing the 120s and they're doing me a favor. And I remember kicking off the wall right after Jan, and I'm right on her, and she was ready to go again, and she looked me dead in the eyes, and I'll never forget what she said to me. She goes, hang with me, Kenny. Stay with me, Kenny. And I kept thinking with that, like as I'm going in that water, stay with me, keep going. That stay with me was that enduring one moment longer. Stay with me. And, the moment started to get really emotional, like understanding that these people have put a hand on my life and now they're inspiring me to go, and I'm taking them with me, like the Joes and the Buzzes and the Alices that swam with me, and the Andrew Rapaski that drove 2 hours to swim with me, the Zodases, the athletes, the ones I coached, the ones that Kate and Ben that took vacation to drive to Key West just to be there to see it unfold, and all of these emotions are now starting to get ready to erupt. And I remember maybe one of the more critical comments, and sometimes as a coach, you forget how to be coached. And I guess I never realized how important a coach is to somebody. I'll never forget, I was sitting taking Ian to the pool with his two mates, and they're going in the North Park pool. I had swam 8,000 or 9,000 yards already. So now I'm just laying out in the grass, watching them have fun. Sayward's coming down, and, Pink Sleeve calls me, Alyssa, and, she's getting ready to go to Greece and Rome. And she goes, Coach, I'm leaving. I just wanted to see how you're doing. And I'll never forget it. I broke out in tears. It was the first time somebody outside of Sayward and my team how are you? What are you going to do? What are you up to? She dug in like a coach for me that day and had me break my race down, talk through it with her. And it was just so refreshing. And I think as a coach, it's our privilege at times to swoop into an athlete when that athlete is spiraling, just not sure how they're going to stand in their race or what they're going to do because they're about to do something incredible that we've already walked through. So for us, it's like, man, I see the work you're doing. You're going to do great. But for them, they can't feel it. And she was that person. She saw the work I was doing. She swam with me several times. She understood what was at stake, and she reached in to check in from that external athlete to coach, now became coach to athlete. And it was a really, really cool cool moment. So Pink Sleeve, I love you.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the send off, because that next week I was moving down to Key West.
Right. Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, we had, I'm just sitting here trying to calculate in my head all the people that came and swam with you at some point, or those that just stopped by your lane to, you know, ask you how many thousands you're in, how many K are you in, right? And they're in there doing like 8 minutes in the pool, right? And then they get out and go home. They come back in the afternoon, you're still swimming, right?
Oh yeah,
basically, right? So I you know, it's no less than 50. It's probably closer to 100.
Oh, most
on
certainly.
The team, other athletes, our YMCA friends, our Richland Swim Club friends, you know, all the people that did that with you.
If they said hi to me in the water, and I know what you're doing, they were with me.
Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful for Erin. I mean,
100%.
Erin was my,
she would grind.
She's the only one I wanted on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. There was no other swimmer I wanted, because she was willing to go. Getting the text back, I'll give you all I got.
Yeah. I think you said 12K that day or something like
12,000.
Yeah, 12,000.
I'll give you all I got.
She's like, I'll do it, and I'll give you all I got. I think that's what she said.
So Erin, there are swims getting planned for next year. Get those arms ready. You're going to be the reliever out of the bullpen again.
That's right. Awesome.
Yeah. And so, you know, going down to Key West, it was go time. You know, it was different. Like I felt, and I think too, the other swim that was critical, and it was the Oxford Club swim that I came and you were in the water, and why it was critical. I don't know why. I just swam a mile straight. Mm-hmm. It was 28 minutes. It was 1,600 meters.
Because you were doing that math in your head.
I didn't have paddles on. Mm-hmm. I just was swimming. You and Alice were in the lane. Mm-hmm. There was nothing special about it. The water was foggy as hell. There was hair particles flying all around. Like there was probably 100 people in there. I think because I was with my people.
Yeah.
Alice had given me a black bracelet with the New Orleans logo on it. That was her way of sending me off. Mm-hmm. I was with somebody who I'm very close to, and my business partner, and we're all there. He knew it was at stake, and we just swam. And at that point, I got out of the water. I'm like, okay, that was 1 mile in the middle of the afternoon. It was under the time I need. I'm going to be great.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, I think there was, that was one. I think there's probably a good handful of swims that were just pivotal, and they all came at exactly the right time for the right reason, for the right purpose, that just kept you launching to the next goal, right? And I think the open water swims with Joella, when you could go to the bridge and back, whether it was Ron kayaking for you or myself, I did it with you as well. Certainly going to Bermuda and getting, a full 10K continuous, swim in salt water. The temperatures weren't exactly the same conditions, but we got in the salt water. We could know that it wasn't going to affect your mouth, and you weren't going to have problems breathing or having any kind of respiratory issues from having that kind of water. But that was pivotal. The, kind of the send-off mile at Oxford Club that you just described definitely got your mindset right on your pacing, because you were concerned. I know we were having this discussion. If I do this, what's that times 12.5? Can I keep that? Can I hold that all this time and so forth? So,
Oh, it was granular, man. I was teeing everything to the second.
Yeah, because we were on an 8-hour, right? 8-hour cutoff for this Key West. So when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, oof, there is no stopping. There's no touching the boat. There's no standing up. Even if the water's only a foot deep, you have to crawl through the mud because you can't stand up. If you stand up, you're DQ'd, right? So
we'll go there.
Yeah. So, but I think those critical swims were spread out in the right pace. I mean, you designed it, you engineered it, and then you executed each one of those things, and it was fantastic.
Well, forever grateful to you too, Sarge. I mean, you changed. You were getting ready to race Ironman. Mm-hmm. And you gave up a whole weekend to go to Bermuda with me and to be a part of that. You flew down to Key West to be a part of that and to help navigate it and to just be there. And there'll be another line that comes up about mile 1. I know how much Sarge loves me after mile 1 in the swim. I know that. But thank you for always, for the shit that sometimes I get you into or the things I do to you, like to just leave anything be. And Kim said to me, she goes, the minute he said that you were going to go to Bermuda to swim, I knew he was going to Bermuda. It was just, there's no doubt about it.
Who did this to me?
Yeah, exactly. That started the
Kenny,
first.
that's always the answer.
That started that last Thursday game of cornhole when I said we should go run.
That's right. That was. We
had our white leather New Balance shoes on, trying to run years ago.
So that was our puking at the first stop sign, I think, run.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's go back. Let's go ahead and let the listeners know how it went. I mean, if you want to go mile by mile or just the key points, right? Certainly that first mile.
Well,
you had to get in the water and you had to like tread, and we're waiting for the horn to go off, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go early now because everybody's in the water, and it's all confusing.
Yeah.
It's chaos. I mean, definitely Anna and her team, they've done this since 1971, I believe, continuously.
Yeah.
So they do know how to do it. But if you watched them from a Sarge logistics and organizational perspective,
somebody didn't read the athlete guide.
Nobody knows what the hell's going on half the time, right? So they're like having you sign in on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's like literally a clipboard and paper forms and paper documents. I'm like, nobody owns an iPad.
That poor Don was getting yelled at the whole time for, giving people the yellow flags instead of the orange flags.
Oh yeah. It was funny. So we just we went with it. We followed the process. We're like, we're newcomers here. We're not going to be critical. This has been going on for a long time. So I'll let you go ahead and start after we got checked in.
Yeah. So the morning of was got intense, so the crew that went down with me, so that what I guess would have walked me into the ring was Sarge, Ron, and Ben. And I had the headphones on and I was just getting my mind right. And again, this is where Anna will come up again. I get real emotional when I was listening to music, and I was listening to Jesus Image, and the song was called Yeshua. And it was 12 minutes and very beautiful. It sets me at peace. And I was standing by the restroom watching the sun come up, and it was beautiful. And I was crying. I had tears coming down my eyes, and my hands were in the air, and I was singing the words, and my eyes were closed. I think I was probably even praying. And I feel somebody grab my hand as it's in the air, and I turn around and it's Anna. And she said, what a beautiful day. You're going to do so well today in the water. I know you are. And she gave me a hug and walked away. And it kind of set me okay. Like, all right, that's the race director. She knows some of my swim times because she reached out to me. She knows this water. Everything should be okay. So then, and I love it too. Fighters, they get taped up and they get the grease put all on their eyes and they're ready to go. And Ben stepped right in.
Ben got in there.
Say was like, oh, I'll do it. And Ben put his hand in and he's like, no, I got this one. Ben had the lube that Sarge made up. So it was the lanolin, the Desonin, all of it.
Sunscreen, right? We had 40% zinc.
Blended all together and he wiped it down and he was in places that I don't think he wanted to be in, but knowing Uncle Ben, he loved it. He was just part of it. And I loved that he was there.
He was your cut man.
He was my cut man. And, Sarge and Ron are getting the kayaks all ready to roll. We have our drinks. We have the food. Everything's in there. They're getting all set up. And, they walk me out onto a pier. They're already in the water and I jump in from the side. You have to walk down a ladder and then tread into where the boats are. And, that was the first interaction. There was a big manta ray eel, like just floating around. And I'm thinking, oh God, if I would have known it was in the water, I had no clue. I'm just by the boat. And I think it was the first type of confusion was, hey, we're going to start in 10 seconds. Everyone's in the water, 10 seconds. And you hear like 9, 8, gets to 5. And you hear, hold on. Tammy doesn't have a boat. 4, 3. Hey, I'm serious. Tammy doesn't have a boat. Go. Everyone just takes off. And I'm like, damn, I'm swimming. Now I'm like, poor Tammy. Like Tammy doesn't have a kayak, support kayak. But, So the first mile, you know, like it's congested. There's probably 150 boats, kayaks. There's swimmers in there, and you're just trying to find your water. And, I'm following Ron. Sarge is on the other side, and we're moving. And, that was the first, like, okay, I'm settling in. It's going to be a long day. I just got to stay on it. And at that first bit, I'm not sure. I had that thought of, oh no, is this happening again? I just felt slow. I felt like I wasn't moving. I came up on some girl, end up moving around her, just congestion, trying to figure it out. Sun's coming up. It's in the goggles. I'm like, I feel this again. Just keep your head down and keep swimming. And, we get to probably like 3/4 of a mile mark. And as I put my face in, I see a shark down, and it was a nurse shark. And I don't know. And, as I'm coming out onto my, breathing side, so on the recovery, I just yell, shark, 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 put my head in again to look for where it was. Shark, shark, shark. And on the second time back, I see Sarge coming like a bat out of hell, man, like shooting behind me, swatting the water with his kayak. Like, and then all of a sudden he's beside me. He's like, yeah, it's gone. It's good. You know? So I'm like, okay, let's get that thing out of the way now. And, I kind of I wasn't sure where I was. I know that now the cruise ship's coming in. So I know that
was the other piece is they talk all about this cruise ship. So like, well, we normally try to run the race on a day where there's not a cruise ship coming in, but there's one coming in at 9 a.m. and we're starting at 8 a.m. So, right. So it's basically,
yeah. Can we start at 7:45?
Yeah, don't try to race the cruise ship. You won't be able to beat it. But if you get tangled up with it, you have to stop. Like you have to like tread, like if you get too close, don't get
real close.
So they're telling you all this stuff ahead of the race. And I'm like, who designed this race that we're racing 150 people by themselves out
then
in
there's
the ocean?
Rumors it wasn't even coming in. Like say's like, it's not coming in. You won't have to deal with it. Then there it was.
No, it was there, but it was well ahead of us. It looked huge from where we were, but we were still probably half a mile away from it. So it just added to the stress, added to the anxiety, added to like the logistics. Like, what are we going to do here? You know, but it was pretty cool.
So the first time, like I felt, I came around the corner where I see the boat. And as I see the boat, I see Ron put the 2 up. And I'm thinking, and I looked at him and he went, and I looked at my watch on when I was breathing out, and I saw I was at 2 miles at 44 minutes. And I'm like, it's on.
We were flying. Actually.
Yeah. And so the day before, they said, if we see red flares, get out of the water, like if a flare gun, because the Air Force was like Coast Guard was piloting around the island to make sure everything was okay and there was no boaters in the area or jet skis. And if you see a Coast Guard flare go up, you got to get out. So that's in the back of my mind, and that'll come back at about mile 7 or 8. But now we're moving. So we're at mile 2 and I'm feeling good now. I'm like, okay, we're cooking. I got a nice little tidal push. We're going. So now we're up at mile 3 and, he's blowing the whistle. Like, you got to eat. And I'm like, no. I want to go because I'm feeling really good. I think I took maybe 10 or 12 strokes.
Like 10 more yards.
And now he's settling back into his kayak. He was ready to feed me. I'm like, I'm ready to eat. He's like, you should have did it back there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready now. And he threw me like a bag of Mike and Ike's and some
waffle stinger.
Yeah, some salt drink. And I fueled up real quick. And then I went back at it again. And I got to mile 4, I think at like 134 or 135. And that's when I'm like, shoot, I'm having a day. Like, we're getting after it. So, kudos to Ronnie. I mean, if the outline of the course, Ron didn't waver one iota. It is a straight shot. Like, we have a picture of it. If you want to put into the podcast, it is like electric. And he said we probably picked off 4 or 5 swimmers because they were like weaving in and out of boats.
Efficient on the navigation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So like Sarge would go ahead of me too. So now we're moving. Now we're probably at mile 6 or 7 and it starts to get dark. And now the rain comes down crazy. And I feel bad for these guys. I'm moving a little bit slower now because the tide is like just not pushing. It's just what it is. And, we're probably into our second feeding at this point, and now it rains and it's coming down. And these guys are like, and I'm like, well, I'm already wet, so it doesn't matter to me, but they're getting hammered. And, so we were in that for about, probably about a mile or so. And that's when my first time was, oh God, please. Like, I don't care what's in the water now. Don't let thunder and lightning come down to let the flare guns go off. Like, do not stop this thing. Mm-hmm. This is a fight that has gotten out of control my way. Do not stop this. Let this go. So now I'm getting excited now because we're coming up to mile like 7-ish. And that's when we start to make the cut around the island. That's where it got a little like Sarge was smart enough to move ahead of Ronnie. And I see him like jamming his kayaks in, and I'm like, uh-oh, is there something in the water? He's showing me it's the depth. Like, I can put my kayak down. So I had to go through this paddle, this little canal. And now I am literally like, my chest is almost rubbing on the ground. So it's now coming into like a breaststroke. I'm trying not to touch because now I'm afraid what else is in this water. Like, we passed over a bicycle was laying on the bottom and it had like coral and like crust all over it. So we end up getting through that, and now we're making our move, and I'm excited because I know Ben's going to be there. Say is going to be there. Kim, Tracy,
mile 8.
And Kate's in the water, right, waiting for me.
Yeah.
So now I'm pumped because this is Kate's first opportunity, and God love Kate. I mean, she had her race taken from her 2 weeks prior, and she was going to be in Key West. So I called Anna up, and I asked her for the approval to have her come in the water and swim her 4.4 miles with me. So it just worked out. She ended up getting the 4.5 in. But for her first ocean swim, her first non-wetsuit swim, that she was going that type of distance.
Yeah, and her first endurance swim.
And she did that with the lure of, I'm going to help him. And knowing she was in the water was unbelievable.
She did it better for you than she would have done for herself.
Yeah.
Just that's the way she is. So
for
the listeners, Kate was in the Chesapeake Bay crossing swim a couple weeks ahead of this, registered, ready to go down there in Annapolis, ready to get into the water. But the weather, Coast Guard canceled the swim. Coast Guard would not allow them cross the Chesapeake Bay that day. So that swim got canceled. So that's what Kenny's reference to her swim getting taken away was. It was just a cancel due to weather. So she did not get to swim her 4.4 miles. That day, she came to Key West, was already planning to be in Key West, was already trained up, and Kenny...
hey, bring your bathing suit.
Kenny got her into the race. Awesome.
And if you know Kate, she is the most calculated athlete.
The whiteboard.
And if it's not on the whiteboard, it's not going to happen. If it's on the whiteboard, it's going to happen. And asking her to pivot and switch gears to extend her taper, to now start training again, get another long swim in, go outside, non-wetsuit. Now she's training down there. She's in the ocean. It's going out of her comfort zone because Kate is a comfort racer. Once she understands I can do a marathon, I rode 100 miles, I swam 2.4. The next thing for her will be the full Ironman, and that's coming in 2025. I can't announce where yet, but it's coming. And I love her so much because she's so always willing to give. Her and Ben will give to any of the athletes out there all they have to make something better for you. And to have her in the water was awesome because now we're cooking. And I felt bad for her. She got on in the worst part. And the thing that I was excited about is they said, if you get up there in the canal and the water's low, you're ahead of time. You're killing it. If you get in there and it's high, you're going to have a hard time getting out of there because
the wrong way.
Correct. So now I'm like, shoot, if I'm touching the bottom, we're moving. And, the hardest part of that swim was that last 2 miles because they said there's an airport, and along the airport there's a brick wall that takes you all the way in, and that brick wall, the tide stopped. It was a current that was coming sideways, so I would be making my stroke and I'd feel like I was going straight, but my back legs would be moving and I'd be riding it. And I was
like drifting, like you're crabbing it in, like
correct,
not even straight.
And I guess it's probably a lot like that at 24 miles in the 26.2 where you just want to be done. And you get to that point of, I'm sick of this. I need this to be over. And I was starting to get grouchy. Like Kate and I got intertwined at one point and I stopped to get around her. And then she started going out directly into the ocean.
She started going to Cuba.
Heading to Cuba, and Sarge had to corral her. And I was trying to get near Ron. And then Ron wasn't paddling. And I'm thinking, why is he not paddling? Are we not moving? Like, what's going on? And I said to Sarge, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, just stick your head down and swim. You're almost there. Go around that bend and you'll see the finish line. I got around the bend and I just started like tearing up in the water because I knew it was going to be on. Now it's like, I'm waiting for Kate. We're going to finish this thing together. And, coming out of that water, I just had that vision of what Tugboat felt when he came out of that water and stood up, and how I should have felt in Tampa. And again, that might get revisited, but standing up knowing that happened. I did this, and I did this for Sabre was there. I got in her arms, started to cry. Ben got in my arms and started to cry.
That's right.
That's because I love that guy. I mean, he's the emotional wick of him. He was so pumped for me. He let loose, and everybody, I was, hugging these guys. I mean, they went through hell and back, and were willing to. And I think the funny thing was, I've done races where I felt like, oh my God, I am so sore, because I probably wasn't trained up to my peak performance. You just throw one together. I had a soreness here and a soreness in my hip. Everything else was fine. And I think because I just trained like a dog, and it was the programming that I did to get ready for that. And it's been unbelievable.
Yeah. So you did get a little salty there after being in the water for so long. That the seawall that protects the airport is about 3.5 miles long on that side of the island. And when you're at the sea level, from a swimmer's perspective, all you see is the wall. So the view didn't really change for Kenny and Kate for about 3.5 miles. On the kayak side, we're up a little higher. We could see that we were making progress. As a matter of fact, we couldn't paddle because we would get so far ahead of them. So he's looking up. We're not paddling. It's because we're actually getting a slight push. It is a little bit of an angle, so it's not perfect, but it worked out pretty well.
Well, I think my placement was off too, because see where Ron was at and where you were at,
right?
I was wanting to follow him more because I felt like Ron was too close to the shore, but I needed to be coming around. So I was confused as to where, who.
The sight lines are a little bit off too. So, but then there was just so much chaos. Like Kate got sideways and ended up going like 10 yards the wrong way. But if we'd have left her go, she would have made it at Cuba.
She would have too. She's so determined. So she would have
had to go like circle around to get in front of her so she could see us and then get her turned. And then now I'm out of position and he was following me. So he's looking as, why is Sarge going that way? And there's, it's hard to communicate. No one can hear anything. We see people getting out of the water. We see swimmers exiting on the beach short, like one guy was pulled up on top of the kayaker, and the kayaker's like you would if you had somebody on horseback and you're trying to bring them back. And the kayaker's pushing the kayak with the swimmer laying on top of the kayak. And we're like, holy crap, wonder if they got the phone number to call to get picked up, because they're still a couple miles from the finish.
Yeah.
So there was some DNFs late in the process. So then there's relays that go on with this race. And so those turkeys would fly past you. You're like, what the hell's going on here? And then you have to realize, oh, wait a minute. They just jumped in the water 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
They haven't been out here for 11 miles. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. And I know, Sarge, you did it. So with everything you just described, Kenny, and what you were having to deal with, Sarge, I know there was a group of us that you were keeping updated.
Oh, yeah. And that was when my heart rate was over 100.
That's exactly where I'm going. So it was very funny. Like, we could see, the progress that Kenny was making. At no point in time did anybody in the chat, because there was a side chat going on, say like, hey, Kenny's in trouble or anything. Like, there was never, ever one comment like that. It was like, yeah, Kenny's steady. This looks good. Everything seems to be on track. But then the comment was made, is that Sarge's heart rate we're seeing?
Yeah.
Like, is he okay? Is somebody making sure that Sarge is all right?
Sarge was grinding, man.
I was. I had 120 or whatever it was for 6 hours straight, right? So it's my zone 2, right?
Zone 2 push.
Zone 2, Right. No, it was fine, but I'd have to keep everything in check. I was sprinting, and then I'd take a picture of my watch.
Yeah.
So it was not totally that spiky,
right,
the whole time. So it was fun. We had a great time. We had everything rigged up. We were actually the kayak rental guy, and this was all another logistics thing. You had to prepay for the kayaks to be delivered. The guy, he's done it 20 years. So he's like laissez-faire. He's showing up late. I'm like, where the hell are you? Like, give me the damn kayak. I got to get stuff on here. And he's like, yeah, well, it's Key West, man. Don't worry about it. Right? Sandals, long hair. But we're rigging the kayaks that morning as Ben's getting up in there, all in the
business,
getting the sunscreen in all the right places, right? So, and we're rigging these two kayaks, and he's like, "Yeah, where'd you get that equipment?" And he's like, "I've never seen that before. You guys do this a lot?" And we're like, "Yeah, we've done it before. We know what we're doing." So we're clamping things on. I'm strapping things to it. We're tying everything down because I'm thinking one of us is going in the drink too. I'm just expecting that either Ron or someone's going to flip at some point. We don't, but it was an expectation, and I didn't want to lose the nutrition. I didn't want to lose all the gear. I didn't want to lose all the drinks, right? Because then now we would be impacting Kenny's race by him not being fed well as he expected. So we did not flip, even though there was a couple of sketchy moments where we were in some rough seas and so forth, but we made it through. We navigated well, and it was all good. But it
was funny. We had some dark and stormies on Thursday afternoon. Race was Saturday, and we're at this place, and they're like, "Yeah, this swim happened like 3 weeks ago, and 4 kayaks sunk."
Yeah, they did.
And we're like, "Yeah, we don't really need to know that." Like,
yeah, they're like, make sure you get the ones without the holes in them. I'm like, it was fine, but that there is multiple swims around Key West. The college actually sponsors one. It's kind of like a 5K, I think, down there. They do them quite often, but this one is the longest standing one that Kenny did, and it's the one that Anna's done since 1971. And Anna actually swam the same day as Kenny this year. A little bit over 8 hours for her, but she's 72 years old, and she's done it 40 times.
Grinded.
Right?
Love her.
So she's fantastic. She's extremely supportive, just a lovely person, and loves what she does down there and loves what she's all about in Key West.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of the water, a lot of it going into it was, man, I just need to if I hold a 2 minute per 100 pace in open water, I'll get under there. I'll get under there with minutes to spare. And then I ended up coming out 5 hours and 39 minutes holding a 140 pace with 6 feeds or 5 feeds.
Yeah.
And one stop, to say hi to say whenever Kate was getting in the water. And then, it was just incredible. I couldn't have asked for a better day. I couldn't have asked for a better crew, a better community, and, the support.
Well, interestingly enough, the red flares did not go up, but probably 15 minutes after Kenny finishes, so right around that 6 hour mark, this incredibly large thunderstorm came through the finish line. It blasted us but we're already on land at this point. It snapped wooden sticks that the flags were on that were attached to some of the kayaks. It was blowing so hard. So we felt very privileged and lucky that our swimmers came in already and we were not in the water at that time. Probably would have flipped Ron and I if we were out there. Don't know what happened to the rest of the swimmers, but it had to have impacted them in some way. Either slowed them down for sure, if not, maybe DNF'd a couple because they just couldn't take it anymore. But it was serious. It was short, but it was very intense thunderstorm that came through. Not a lot of lightning, which is why the flares didn't go up, but wind and the pounding rain that just blasted, and it got extremely dark. It was actually scary at that point to know that people were in the water, with just a kayak or just a swimmer with no wetsuit, actually no flotation whatsoever. So we hope everybody was safe, and we did not hear anything negative from that. But
you could see that in the finish pick, how dark the skies were.
Correct.
Yeah.
It blew through. So we were on time, on target, ahead of the storms, dealt with all the things that we had to deal with. And the swimmers, Kenny and Kate, did fantastic. And, Kate, huge accomplishment to her for getting her first 4.4 miles in. And now she's probably going to go back next year.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert, maybe. we're prepared for that if necessary. So.
Well, what's been really cool is there's a whole rash of the Victory athletes now that have really leaned in. Mm-hmm. So there's a pocket talk in Chesapeake. There's a pocket talk in North Carolina swim run. Mm-hmm. There's some looking at Key West. There's JV's wife wants to do the Key West Correct. Relay. There's all kind of stuff you could do. Alice is talking about one.
Could even be Mackinac Island. Could be a couple other things.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. There's one called Embrace the Suck down to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. There's one called Mackinac Island, 8 miles, fresh water, cold water. I might would like to try that. Then there's the swim around Charleston. So a lot of it will be dependent on timing. Mm-hmm. The distance don't matter too much. It's more about what's going to be good for Victory, what's going to be good for family, mm-hmm. That type of thing.
Yeah. Redemption feels pretty good, doesn't it?
Oh, man. Literally, I came out screaming, like just fired up, just to be able to get in that water and to not let myself down, to not let Say down who came there. My team came down there, all of Victory, my friends. When you pour something into something so much, mm-hmm. Hopefully that result will get the desired result will come.
Oh, it will. It will. We've got so much chatter with the team. There's a lot of people thinking differently now about endurance sports and adding in different aspects and, whether they're going to flex in and out of endurance swims. Even this North Carolina swim run is more of a, enduro type thing, swimming between islands, running across islands type of a swim run adventure race. So it sounds fantastic, and it's getting people fired up. It's keeping them focused. It's getting them new energy to think differently about 2025, 2026 and what they want to do. Just like you spoke earlier, Coach Scott, about people that are now finishing their 70.3s and maybe their first triathlons and thinking, hey, maybe I could go Boston. Maybe I could make Boston. I'm pretty close, or I need to shave some, but I'm in for it. So, Coach, can you get me there? Absolutely, 100%.
Those things make people well-rounded, too. I mean, really does. I mean, you take a season, like I was talking to Zoch yesterday after Ironman. He's like a low 130 swimmer, but he could easily be a 120. Like, let's take a season and really hammer the water.
Oh, Zoch is doing it, right? Because Zoch has already flexed. He's flexing.
Oh, he's looking for Boston too.
No, 50 mile or ultra.
Oh, yeah.
So he accidentally sent me his sign up form. He's like, I was supposed to send that to Coach Lauren. I'm like, dude, you're on it. Looks exciting. So he's already flexing into something different, right?
Yep.
And doing an ultra. And that's exactly the whole point to many, many, many of our athletes. The grind on the Zwift, the grind on the fluid trainer, the grind of it being one thing, like just Ironman, is not necessarily the way you got to go. If that's your jam, 100% go for it. But if you need variety, you need to come off of that, go do something else, come back to it to make it that much more special. That's also, a great way to be long-term in endurance sports and be durable in a lot of ways.
Kenny brought this up earlier too. The structure of the approach, whatever the endurance sport is, it's going to be relatively the same. And if you've demonstrated success in completion of an Ironman or a 70.3, you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. You've demonstrated. If you were able to get to the starting line and the finish line, that means you were able to work through the structure of the training and that duration, and you can lever that into BQ or marathon swim or ultra marathon, any of that stuff. It shares that fundamental, the fundamental principles. So
absolutely. Well, Kenny, man, it was awesome being with you for the year of training and the journeys we've been on all these decades now. But, this one was special. This one came through flying colors. We had great weather, even though we got rained on. That was quite okay. We survived it, no problem. We were signed up for that in the beginning. We were signed up to go in the drink if I had to. Really appreciate the energy you brought to it and the approach you brought. And I think sharing your story today is really going to help a lot of people, frame up what they have on their bucket list and what they have on their heart that either may not have been a failure or just something they want to go after, but maybe it was something that didn't go quite right. So come back for some more, and let's saddle up and let's do it together.
Let's go.
Make it happen.
On it.
So Thanks for sharing again today.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. So we'd like to end this cast with everybody listening up with just an announcement. This Friday in the athlete briefing, if you're, again, not on the newsletter, please go to our website and sign up.
Make sure you click rate.
Yeah.
Click rate up this Friday.
But get into it, because we're going to announce the partnership that Victory Multisport has with the Chubb Bermuda Triangle Challenge marathon weekend. And that's in January of 2025. It's a 1 mile race on Friday, a 5 or 10K Saturday, and a full or half marathon on Sunday in the country of Bermuda, which is fantastic for all of us in the north to get out of town and get to a little warmer climate in January and have a fun time together. We have a package that's going to be announced on Friday's newsletter on the 13th of September. That includes discounts on airfare, discounts on race registration, and a discounted rate at a resort on the island that we've stayed in. That's where Kenny and I actually shot the podcast in April when he was swimming
right on the water
at Grotto Bay. We've negotiated the rates. We've gotten the discounts for our team and athletes and friends. And if you want to just come and spectate, you want to come and support, you want to come and run any one or all of those races, it's open to you. So look forward to that being more details, links to click and click through and do your signups coming this Friday. So we wanted to make that announcement. All right, gentlemen, thank you again for another great cast. And for all those that are listening, please like and follow us on Spotify, Apple, and or watch us on YouTube. You can see us sitting here talking to you on camera while we're doing it. And we appreciate all the followers and all of our athletes. And you've been listening to the Victory Multisport podcast. We'll talk to everybody very soon.